Welcome back. Today we will continue with the discussion of the rights and responsibilities of engineers, which are the central rights and responsibilities. To have a recapitulation, let us look back into some of the important discussions we had on the last lecture. We discussed about the types of information that should be kept confidential, like the confidential data, results, information about upcoming unreleased products, information about designs or formula for products, business information concerning the number of employees working on a project, the identity of suppliers, marketing strategies, production cost and production yields. Engineers today, as a part of their job, are required to sign a non-disclosure agreement which binds them from sharing any information with outsiders. Here in the last discussion, we also discussed about the right for whistleblowing, when that the engineers should go for disclosing some facts, and at what conditions and whom they should disclose it, first to their insiders of the organization and then before dealing it with the outsiders. So the clause of whistleblowing will also come over here. And government organizations, like in defense sector, they have much more stringent rules because of the security issues which are there. We also discussed about the conflicts of interest, and here we find, like in the case that we discussed, there were also in the last session there were conflicts of interest. So when conflict of interest happens, when it is a situation when an interest, if pursued, could keep a professional from meeting one of his obligations. So we discussed about the case, if you remember in the last session, like I am in the decision making position for selecting of the suppliers, and I also do have one company who is supplying the goods. So in this case, it is an absolute or like conflict of interest, which is an actual conflict of interest. Conflict of interest can be of generally three types. So what we find, there could be like a potential conflicts of interest, and when I feel like there could be a condition where I am not directly involved as a supplier, but one of my friends who is a supplier, I develop a friendship with one of the suppliers, and then the obligation comes in the terms of, like, should I select my friend who is the supplier, or select someone who is really giving a good quality of cement or the supply that I want for. So this is called a potential conflict of interest. Then appearance of a conflict of interest is where, like, somewhere an engineering creating expensive designs, a person who is creating expensive designs, because directly maybe he is not getting money, but what we can see, like if he gets a percentage of the project as his fees, then the more expensive designs is going to give him better percentages. So in that case, it is coming from where like appearance of a conflict of interest, where you find, like, I create expensive design in the expectation that I'll get better percentages, because my payment is based on the percentages of the certain percentages of the overall cost of the design. So here comes the conflict of interest, and so this is called appearance of a conflict of interest. So generally we have three types: actual conflict of interest, potential conflict of interest, and appearance of a conflict of interest. So, if these three things, we need to be careful about these situations and we need to take remedial measures about it so that they can be avoided. So, what we are going to discuss next is the avoidance of a conflict of interest, and that we have already discussed to some extent in the last discussion, like we follow the guidance of the company policy. If it clearly states about certain things, take opinions of the managers or co-workers what needs to be done, or best is use your own judgment to decide if it is ethical or not. Like if you remember in the last discussion, we discussed about if I find like I am in that position where I am going to select a supplier, and I do also have a company who is supplying this type of goods, then if possible I will discuss with the managers and co-workers and take the guidance of the company policy if it is clearly stated, and then refrain from taking any decisions. I will not participate in the decision making process of the supplier selection if possible, or else I will not bid for it. There are two ways: either I do not involve myself in the selection process, or else I do not participate in the bid, means I don't engage in the process of supplying goods to the organization. Either way I can make myself out of this conflict. Next, what we are going to discuss in continuation with this type of situation is a situation of competitive bidding. So, competitive bidding in its simplest term means it is a process by which a contracting firm selects from amongst the competing vendors or contractors who have submitted bids for a project. The word competing vendors or contractors, these words are very important words, because the vendors have to compete with their levels of performance and proficiency with different parameters which are important for a quality service, quality product, and maybe after sales service or the quality of the product, where whatever it is they have to qualify through their performance level, and there are points associated with their how good they are in each of those things, and ultimately the best supplier gets selected based on their how good they are. And if it is an open competition, then what happens, there is a possibility of selecting the best among the best who have supplied or who have like given their bids for a project. Engineers here are restricted to from competitive bidding. This is also for a variety of reasons. Some of the reasons that which we have already discussed when we discussed about actual conflict of interest, because if I am in a position to select the quality of the products given, and then I lose my power of discretion, I lose my power of being objective to select the one who is performing best according to the quality of supply. If I do have some personal interest ingrained in the goods, and in terms of like who is supplying, or if I am personally supplying, then what happens, it is a situation of conflict of interest. For that reason, to help the engineers function in the best interest of the public at large, engineers are restricted from competitive bidding for a competitive bidding process. So, because whatever, if they select a poor quality of goods, then it may affect the lives of so many people. So, otherwise what happens, this would make the price most important and determining factor for contracts, which would lead to the engineers cutting corners to design work and could ultimately undermine engineers' duty to protect the safety and welfare of the public. So, they are restricted from competitive bidding, because if price becomes a concern and not the goods, quality of the goods, it may affect life of people. So, they are restricted from competitive bidding. One of the important responsibility which is coming up for the engineers and which is becoming important, very important day by day, is the concept of safety amongst the engineers. So, these days engineering students are taught about the importance of safety as a part of their responsibility, and what we feel about this will be elaborated by the particular case that we see below. So, we will follow the case and we try to find out, we will try to see, explore why safety has become a very important responsibility for the engineers, and we will try to discuss about it and we will explain it and try to see the importance of safety. So, let us look into the case as given below, which is unanticipated factor auto safety. So, you are a new engineer working as a part of a design team for a large automobile manufacturing company. The company is doing a major redesign of one of its product lines. Your team is responsible for designing part of the frame of the new car. As a part of the company's drive to make cars lighter and more efficient, your team is directed to make some of the structural members out of carbon fiber composites. The cross member that holds the rails of the frame apart was ideally suited for composite replacement. You test several different composite materials and layups and finally choose one that you have reason to believe will work. Several prototypes of the car are built which you checked carefully. Your design is then approved and it is about to go into production. So, till here what we find, like you are a new engineer who are working as a part of the design team for a large automobile manufacturer. So, that is, maybe you are a part of a great organization, big organization. The company is doing a major redesign of its product. So, you are a part of that team, product lines. Your team is responsible for designing part of the frame of the new car. So, you are a part of the whole design of the frame of the new car. A part of the company's drive to make cars lighter and more efficient, your team is directed to make some of the structural members out of carbon fiber composites. So, this word is important. Your team is directed to make some of the parts of the structural members out of carbon fiber composites. The cross member that holds the rails of the frame apart was ideally suited for composite replacement. You test several composite materials and layups. This word is also very important. You test several different composite materials and layups before you come to the final decision, and finally choose one that you have reason to believe will work. So, you have a reason to believe will work, but you have not yet tested it. Several prototypes of the car are built which you checked carefully. After that, several prototypes are built which you check carefully. Your design is then approved and it is about to go to production. Just today you found a problem with your cross member. A few inches of the cross member from a car that was winter tested showed extensive cracking. After looking at the design, you realize that the cracked portion is in proximity to the exhaust system. You conclude the hot pipe in cold weather created thermal stresses and caused cracking. What can and should you do, and how do you go about it? So, in this case, if you are discussing about your responsibilities as a person who is concerned about safety, and if you have noticed that there could be points of dilemma because your design has already been approved and you are going for and it is about to go for production. Now you have detected some safety issues, and for a car which was like for the in a car which was tested in winter, and then you find it is it is near the shows an extensive cracking, and near the exhaust system. Points of dilemma could be in this final stage: if I cancel the design, what will be the cost impact on the whole company? Then they will not be able to meet their target if they want to launch their product, their car, at a certain point of time. If they promise the market that we are going to launch the new version of the car within this time frame. So these could be your point of dilemma over here. But still, if you have observed these things, then what will be your responsibility at this point of time is to, like, it depends on like what is your rank in the organization. If you are a very junior member who has, or as a part of the team, you should immediately report it to your team lead and then take it to the higher ups, and then think, even if it may cost something to the company now, it is much less a cost as compared to the safety issues of the thousands and thousands of people who may be using your final product. So these type of concerns, these types of responsibilities are very important responsibilities of engineers, where we cannot compromise with the safety issues, and it has to be a primary responsibility for the engineers. We have discussed about the responsibilities of the engineers. Hand in hand with the responsibilities comes the rights of the engineers. So now we are going to discuss about the rights of an engineer. So they have particular rights also. Engineers also have particular rights which goes with their profession. So these are very basic fundamental rights, like which is same as any other profession, like it is the right to privacy, right to participate in activities of one's own choosing outside of the work, then the right to reasonably object to companies' policies without fear of retribution, and the right to due process. So, like, elaboration of this is like every person has a personal life and has a professional life. So, in a balanced way, everyone has a right to privacy, and if it is not something, my personal life, if it is not going against or the professional ethics, then I do have the right to privacy. The right to participate in activities of one's choosing outside of work. Outside my work, I can choose to participate in activities which could be my hobbies or interests, but again we have to see whether we are compromising on our professional responsibilities or not. So the key word in all these things are how to maintain a balance between whatever we are doing in our personal and professional life. Every person has the right to object to companies' policies without the fear of getting punished or retribution, and the right to due process. So we can expect, like, we have a right to the due processes, expected processes in the organizations. As per Martin and Schinziner 2000, the most fundamental right of an engineer is the right of professional conscience. the right to apply own professional judgment while discharging duties. This is a unique right and the conscious right of professional conscience, because when we take engineering as a profession, it is a beautiful blend of knowledge, judgment, discretion, responsibilities which come up from the knowledge, your concept, the practice and responsibilities, and this gives rise to a professional conscience. So it is the fundamental right of the engineer is the right to the professional conscience. The right to apply own professional conscience while discharging duties is very important. That's why I told, like in the case, the word of importance was they were directed, like if you can go back to the case, they were like directed to make some of the structural members out of carbon fiber composites. So like if we look into the case at depth, we may debate about, we may try to discuss about like when they were directed and if this is the proper material or not, whether it can withstand all type of weather conditions or not, and whether your professional conscience says yes to these type of designs or not, and what is your conscience which directs you to do when you see these safety issues in terms of crack, and how you follow the judgment, how you take your judgment based on your professional conscience. One of the important rights of the engineers are also the right to whistleblowing. As we saw in the BART case, in the case that we discussed in the last lecture, it was like the three engineers, when they noticed some anomaly happening, they tried to discuss about, they tried to voice about their concerns, and they went through different channels. They went to their immediate supervisors, then they went to the board, and then the board went to the outside public. So the process that is followed is called whistleblowing. So every engineer, because the primary concern, the primary responsibility of the engineers are the health and safety and protection of the public at large, because they are designing certain things, the right to whistleblowing is also very important right which they have. If they notice any discrepancy in the processes happening which is deviating from the standard, which may affect the safety issues of the public at large. So we'll discuss about the right to whistleblowing in details now. The right to whistleblowing. The whistleblowing occurs when an employee informs the public or higher management of unethical or illegal behavior being conducted by an employer or supervisor. Engineers have the duty to protect the health of the general public. So in many cases, engineers are compelled to blow the whistle, as it happened in the opening case that we already discussed at the beginning of the module. Whistleblowing could be acknowledged or it could be anonymous whistleblowing also. It depends on the culture of the organization, climate of the organization, whether whistleblowers are protected or not. So that will determine whether it is an acknowledged whistleblowing or it is your anonymous whistleblowing. Anonymous whistleblowing occurs when the employee who is blowing the whistle refuses to reveal his name when making allegations. This can be done by sending a mail or an anonymous memo to the upper management. On the other hand, acknowledged whistleblowing occurs when the employee points out the accusations openly and is willing to withstand the inquiry brought on by his accusation. So he owns it, takes responsibility of it, and he is like okay with facing the consequences of it and moving further with the issues. Whistleblowing can be bad from the corporation's point of view because it can lead to distrust, disharmony, and an inability of the employees to work together. So, whistleblowing, because it is a very touchy, sensitive issues, we need to decide also when we should go for whistleblowing and when we should not go for whistleblowing. If we are deciding for going for whistleblowing, then what are the proper steps involved in it, how we should follow those steps, and what the organization can do about the employees whistleblowing. We will focus on those things now. So, what we will discuss now, when should whistleblowing be attempted? What are the conditions when whistleblowing should be attempted? So, generally what we do is, what we will discuss now, when should whistleblowing be attempted? So, generally what we do, we follow the 4-point rule. Let us see what are those things. Need. Make sure whistleblowing is required to avoid the prospective harm. Proximity. First-hand knowledge is essential before you blow the whistle. The things should be happening in proximity from they can be detected or evaluated. So, we should not assume something and go for whistleblowing. First, there should be a need, the issue should be strong enough, it should have moral intensity enough to qualify it to be an issue for whistleblowing. Second, I should have the essential first-hand knowledge before I go for whistleblowing. So, the thing should be happening in proximity so that they can be detected or evaluated. Then capability. The whistleblower must have a reasonable chance of success in stopping the harmful activity. So, what is your position in the organization, or what is the professional knowledge that you have, what is the expertise that you have, what is the collective strength of support of others that you have, and how do you develop that strength will determine your capability. So, and your chance of success in stopping the harmful activity. And it should be made sure, like whistleblowing, that too, when you're talking of whistleblowing to the outside world, is the only option which is left with you, and we have already tried through like reporting it to our maybe team lead, then reporting it to the higher ups, and moving these things up throughout the organization, and we have gone through these processes, waited for the feedback to come or actions to be taken, and still if you find nothing has been taken care of, then as a last resort, then maybe we can go for whistleblowing. So, next what we can discuss is the preventing of whistleblowing. So, because from the employer's perspective, it is equally important to see like how we can prevent this whistleblowing, or how to take care of the issues so that which are becoming of concern for the engineers, because it may potentially harm the image of the organization as a whole. So, when you're talking of preventing of whistleblowing, we are not telling like we should create a threat environment in the organization so that people don't dare to blow the whistle. It's not that, but we should be so much careful in our efforts, we should be so much careful in the commitments that we make, we should so much be dedicated towards the objective that what the need for whistleblowing should not arise. So, first it starts with developing a strong ethics culture. So, there must be a strong corporate ethics culture. Clear commitment to ethics must be established in the organization. There should be a clear lines of communication Openness can help a lot in curbing the situations well in advance. All employees must have a meaningful access to high level managers in order to bring their concerns forward. There should be willingness on the part of the management to admit mistakes publicly if necessary. So, if we are following these things, the need for whistleblowing may not even arise, because people go for whistleblowing only when they feel like their voices are not heard, their concerns are not heard. So, if the organization gives an open climate, a good climate for communication, where the higher ups are committed enough to the objectives of the organization and they are taking enough responsibility, they are giving enough time to the junior members and giving a proper feedback to them, listening to their problems and if these reported problems are genuine, then taking proactive measures to correct those things and accepting mistake if some wrongdoing is done, and that too in public, talks of a positive culture, positive mindset of the organization which is ethically oriented. It talks of a good ethics culture of the organization, and if that culture prevails, maybe the need to whistleblow will not arise at all. So, in this chapter, in this discussion, we have covered about the major central rights, responsibilities and rights of the engineers, and what we can say, like if one of these rights and responsibilities go hand in hand, and we have to make a balance of these rights and responsibilities so that we can address our duties in a proper way. Thank you.